So Vijay, for those people who do not know who you are, would you mind introducing yourself, say what you do, and tell us a little bit about how did you end up where you are today?
Absolutely. So, Kieran, I'm one of the co-founder and chief customer officer of Techforce.ai. Um, I've been in consulting for the last 15 years, working with large national corporations, delivering, building digital applications, awesome applications for end customers. And you work in consulting, you learn too many things. So that always gives you ideas and thoughts about how you want to solve some problems that you can glaringly see in front of you. But yeah, the whole idea of digitally enabling people using technology really excites me, and that's the driving passion behind starting Techfore.ai. And obviously, there are so many learnings and interesting stuff that we went through in this journey. Looking forward to having a good discussion around it today.
You mentioned you started up a couple of years ago with a number of other founders. You're in the digital assistant space primarily. People sometimes think of Alexa or other variations thereof. People sometimes think of robots being digital assistants. But what is it that you actually mean, and what got you interested in digital assistants in the first place?
So back when in 2005, I was working in Boston for an enterprise where we were deploying some really, really expensive software. And then I realized nobody's using that. And especially it's very challenging to use it from day one. That gave me an interesting insight about how really software works and how people really interact with machines. 1 out of every 2 workers need immediate digital reskilling. And it could be as simple as how to do effectively Google search. And it could be as complex as finding right information, right data at right time in an enterprise. So everything is digital today. And more alarmingly, what I realized is 1 out of every 3 workers do not have digital skills or digital fluency to succeed at the digital workplace today. And people are not able to catch up with the technology and falling behind. So that's exactly the reason that I started Techfore.ai with my co-founders, digitally enabling people so that we can amplify their productivity at work and make them succeed.
The fact that we have digital assistants, does that mean RPA is not all it was made out to be?
RPA, document processing, workflow, low code, no code, these are all jargons, right? If you look at it from the end user point of view, what are they looking for? They are looking for starting their day and use some technology as simple as possible and get their work done with. What we look at it from, we always look from the end user point of view, right? If you look at an enterprise context, there are 3 core pillars: people, process, and technology. Technologies like RPA have traditionally focused on process part of these 3 pillars, and they have not built or thought through from enabling people point of view. RPA is focused on fixing past of work, like not future of work. The past of work, which is legacy, which is which was a kind of patchwork that's been done all the time. You want to automate those processes using technologies like RPA, which is an important factor to release immediate productivity, right, in the organization. But that's more about past of work. But in the 3 pillars, what is focused on future of work is the people part of it. And when you really think of enabling people digitally, then you need to looking at the people first approach and keeping people in the center of your entire transformation. And that's where we believe RPA has its own limitations.
It's interesting you describe RPA as the past of work and digital assistance as the future work. And I absolutely believe that people are central. And we can see from whatever research group you want that there is going to be a dramatic shortfall in productive labor going forward. Just keep me right here. You're concentrating on the front office. You're concentrating on skilled roles. You're not just concentrating on the routine, mundane roles that automation traditionally, i.e. RPA, has focused on. Why have you gone about it in that direction?
I think the core fundamental difference between a hyper automation technology, whether it's RPA, whether it's workflow, low code, no code, the automation side of it or document processing, they all come from, with a preliminary assumption that you have a standardized process. But if you look at the fundamental challenge in enterprise today, is digital is transforming very quickly in terms of how processes and people and the technologies are changing so fast, and you can't make an assumption that the process that I'm going to automate is going to stay the same, and it has a shelf life, right? So every process, every technology has a shelf life, and the RPA or some of these technologies which are built on top of it inherit that shelf life, inherit that challenges in terms of the process changes and technology changes, and it became a very expensive affair to build and manage these technologies. But when you look at from digital assistants, right, you're actually close to the user. So when you are close to the user, you're actually learning and more geared towards dynamic nature of future of work. So you're ready to be adaptive with the changes that are happening in the process, in the technology, as long as you are associated on the user side, than more towards the process and the technology side.
I have to say, I would love a digital assistant or digital twin, because then I could be hopefully twice as productive as before. Have you built the technology in a way that digital assistants can learn from each other, just like humans learn from each other?
When we looked at the problem, right, the users are actually doing different tasks, different activities during the day. On average, a user needs 7 to 8 enterprise applications to work on 7 to 8 enterprise applications to finish an end-to-end task. If you look at it from the user's point of view, it's just adding more pain to them in terms of learning all these different apps and making sure the data is in sync between these applications. You're lucky if you have automated way of data is getting synced. If not, you are adding more work to the user to keep these applications in sync. So the whole paradigm of using automation and on these enterprise applications is changing so fast, and you can't just build it once and use it. So the digital twin angle that you talked about, which is very interesting topic, it only normally used in the industrial applications use case so far, but it's coming very fast to the knowledge workers use case. So if you have a digital assistant who's learning from you, show and tell them what you do, how you do certain things, and you will focus on changing the world or changing the business than running the business, right? So that's the core skill as business users you want to do.
Could you get digital assistants then to start to swarm together? So if I had a digital assistant and I taught it something, let's imagine I was in digital marketing, Vijay, and you were doing digital marketing as well. Could we get the two digital assistants to cooperate to produce a technically third, more clever digital assistant that could do new and better things?
Let's say Kieran, you have a digital assistant ID, and I have a digital assistant ID, and I am training my assistant, showing and telling how do I do things in a knowledge work use case, and you are doing the same. So when they start collaborating, when you reach out to me, and I don't have to be present everywhere, I can pretty much do maybe a 20 to 30% of the work. My assistant can do it for me, and it can also interface with other colleagues and collaborate with your assistant or yourself. So the work is going to be more dynamically done by the assistants, a combination of humans and these digital assistants, or you can call them robots or machines, but end of the day, they're trying to play the role of digital assistants. And I'm sure in very, if not 3 years, maybe 5 years or 7 years down the line, you will see the assistants evolving into creating their own workflows and delivering their own, innovation, suggesting innovations, right? I think that's where the world will go, and because it's going to be extremely cutthroat, competitive to differentiate, because all things equal, everybody has access to cloud, everybody has access to technology, and now with digital assistants, everybody will have access to knowledge and automation. So that means that world is going to be more flatter when it comes to knowledge work.
Where do you see, Vijay, the best use of digital assistants?
To me, it sounds like where, who will get benefit from email or computer. So to me, it's any information worker, right? In terms of who is working on digital devices like laptops and whose most of the work is around doing knowledge-related work on digital devices. I'm sure this is just not going to be assistant alone. It's going to be a combination of human and digital intelligence coming together in solving a lot of knowledge use cases, right? But if you look at from the industry's point of view, industries like financial services, healthcare, especially consumer-heavy industries are going to be initial beneficiaries who wants to enable their both customers and employees digitally using these technologies.
Do you think that digital assistants will offer society answers to productivity questions that they don't currently enjoy, or to your point earlier on, knowledge questions where the knowledge doesn't exist in the volume that it needs to exist?
Absolutely. So Kieran, there's an interesting pattern that I've seen, right? When we started Techforce.ai, some of my colleagues and friends used to, during their work, they used to spend significant amount of time figuring out things, right? In terms of how do I do this in this application? How do I find this information? Where do I get this? So I think it's they spend significant amount of time reinventing the wheel in the name of learning. What's happening is, even in the day-to-day life, when it comes to finance, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to education, figuring out our insurance, our travel, leisure, all of these things are becoming digitally enabled, if you see, right? And thanks to COVID, that just got even more digitally enabled now, right? Now, look at the world, right? And what we see is, every one person among three doesn't have basic digital skills, so they're not digitally inclusive. And a lot many people who have the digital technology don't have the digital skills enough to understand and learn and do these things, and we don't have time. So digital assistants will have a very huge role in bringing, making social and the society more digitally inclusive. And if you ask me as an individual, that's one of my personal mission, and why I started Techfore.ai is to I have a big dream to add a next billion users, enable them in join digital economy and make digital workplace accessible for everyone.
How do people get in touch with you?
It's very simple, Kieran. So currently you can go to www.techforce.ai, and there is a link that you can sign up. You will get you'll get added to the queue for getting the digital assistant access to it. As I said, we are keeping it currently private beta, so we will get back to them whenever we are ready to provision a digital assistant account for them. It's as simple as it, and it's a free there's a free trial, so you can just sign up and get access to it, and at right time you will get the access and you start using it. Download there is a web version to it, there is a desktop version with more better experience and stuff like that. So people can go to www.techforce.ai and sign up.